My 2024 estimates do not include anything for Robotaxi or Optimus. Does that mean I don't think that Robotaxi or Optimus will happen in 2024? No, basically, I wanted to do it this way because that's what we know for sure. And if we want to kind of get some idea of the stock value now, as seen by the world, as seen by most of the folks out there, even most, I would say, of the Tesla community, don't believe that Optimus will be sold next year or leased next year to third parties, and don't believe that Robotaxi will be on the road next year. So if we want to give this kind of a neutral look using my practices, my methods, then I think that we have to leave them out. So this is Randy Kirk. If you like the fact that I do these projections and these analyses, please hit the like button. That will help me to know that I need to do more of them. My plan right now is to do a 2025, probably next week, and then maybe do a 2027. Not sure. If you didn't see the 2026, there's a card right there. That is the one you want to look at. I think that is the one that should be determining the stock price now. Anyway, it's a fun one. I'd suggest you go take a look at it. If you haven't seen the 2023 one yet, the card is right there. And you might want to go back and look at 2023. It doesn't matter what order you look at these in. The 2024, you could finish this and then go look later. Anyway, I'll put those two links in the information below as well. All right. So Dan Ives. Oh, one last thing, Patreon. Remember Patreon? Oh, yeah. And subscribe and notify. Because if you hit notify, then you'll find out about when my 2025 is going to be coming up, as well as all the other great shows. Anyway, Dan Ives said the other day that he's at $5 in profit for 2024. I'm trying to figure out how he even gets there. I can't get to that low number. Well, maybe he thinks that there's not going to be any Cybertruck sales at all next year. Or maybe he thinks it'll only be like 50,000 out of 1.7 million, that the rollout, that the ramp up will be so horrible that they can't even ship what they've got, or that once they start shipping it, nobody will want them or something. I don't know what in the world is going on with that estimate of $5 a share. Maybe he thinks the entire automotive thing will collapse next year. He doesn't believe that Tesla will add any volume to their existing Y sales. I mean, I just can't get it. Okay, so so right now it's time for us to start thinking much more about 2024 than 2023, because the market is forward thinking 6 months, and we are just about going to be into 2024 in terms of 6 months into the future. So that is a reality, and why we should look at 2024. Obviously, 2025 and 26, et cetera, matter, because you can always, I think it was Dan Ives, it might have been him too, somebody the other day. No, it wasn't him. It was that, anyway, they were looking at projections all the way into 2040. I'm not going to do that. That's way, 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 way too impossible to even imagine how to get to a 2040 analysis that makes any sense at all. But 2024, yes, that analysis makes sense. 2025, and then because of what I do in the 2026 analysis, it makes sense too. Go take a look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, but 2024 is instructive because this will be the last year, in my opinion, that Sexy and Cybertruck dominate the earnings. Energy storage, the Gen 3 vehicle, Dojo as a service, the semi-truck, Optimus, FSD, actually becoming actual FSD, and also Robotaxi. These could all actually be contributing to 2025. I mean, the Gen 3 vehicle at the very end of 25, end of 24, we should be doing that. Energy storage is ramping like crazy. It's going to be making a bigger and bigger difference. Dojo as a service, Elon said he would decide later this year whether that's going to be a thing or not, and it could be impacting next year. The semi-truck, yes, it'll be the end of 24, but into 2025, it could be at 50,000. FSD could pop any day. So by 2025, it could easily be having a big impact. And then, of course, Robotaxi and Optimus could both be making an impact in 2025. I would say there's at least in my opinion, at least a 30 to 50% chance that both of those things are making an impact in 2025 and an 80% chance that they're impacting 2026. So therefore, 2024 becomes instructive in that sense that this will be the last year that we will be looking at only these sexy cars and the new Cybertruck as the primary influencers, the primary profit drivers. And then after that, things will change. Okay, so let's take a look at the screen. Okay, so what we're going to start with is we're going to start with the manufacturing of the cars at the different locations. I know that lots of other folks out there, they'll do it by model. They will do it by model and factory. I try to simplify things. I'm a very simple man. And because we can't really, I've said this before, I'll say it again, going into the minutia is not going to make these numbers better. Because we really are just, pulling a lot of numbers right out of thin air. We don't know what's going to happen to the economy in 2024, 25, 26, 27. We don't know what's going to happen to various types of competition that might be coming in. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of how the Cybertruck is going to be received. I mean, there's so many things that we don't know. So I try to take only the things that I know. That's my method. I take two things, actually. I take the information that Tesla and Elon and the executives at Tesla give us. I take that information, their specific quotes, and then I take the other information from Tesla that they give us, like what they can produce in each factory. Those are numbers that I can hold on to, and they're the best numbers I think that I can get. I also take a look at extrapolations based on these statements and on these numbers. I don't have much else to go on. I do have to look at the macro, and I can make certain decisions in my head as to where the macro is going, whether Tesla can sell out everything it can make in every factory, which is one of the reasons I dropped my number for the second quarter right now from 490 to 460, as it looked like they were kind of taking their foot off the accelerator. We can't say gas anymore, taking their foot off the accelerator because maybe they couldn't quite sell every car that they could make in the second quarter. Anyway, so that's how I do my analysis. Sometimes I don't have anything to go off of, and so I have to kind of go, what is the realistic case, or why wouldn't they? Like semi-truck is a good example of that. I think that they can sell 1 million semi-trucks by 2030. The question then becomes, well, if they could, why wouldn't they? Wouldn't that be a wise thing to do if they had plenty of batteries and they could make 1 million a year? Why wouldn't they sell 1 million by that time? And so that becomes my thinking. Okay, that's my methodology. Some people will say that I'm an uber bull, but when I take an Elon Musk statement, like selling 40,000 semi-trucks in 2024, which is what he said, that I'm not being the uber bull, Elon's being the uber bull, and he and I can both turn out to be incorrect based on circumstances on the ground. You never know what's going to happen. That's my point. Okay, so I simplify this thing, and I'm showing you by factory. We know that Fremont right now has a capacity of around 600,000 a year. Tom Zhu is now in there. He's trying to increase that capacity. So you can see that I've actually come up with 630,000 for 2024. That's my number all the way to the right. See, it's full year right here is 630,000. I'm saying that they'll start off a little light, a little under their full capacity in the first quarter. They'll get up a little over their capacity in the current capacity and start moving up towards this 650, maybe 660, maybe even 700,000 might be the new capacity as they've come in with better systems and better methods. All right. So that's Fremont. Now we take Shanghai. We know that Shanghai's current capacity is somewhere around 1.1 million. They've been shooting 77,000 a month. That's roughly what they've been doing right now, which is a little under 1 million. I believe that they will go over 1 million in 2024. There'll be a run rate by the end of 2023 will be over 1 million. And going into 2024, they will be shooting over this 1.1 million for the year, just based on, again, efficiencies and building up. Nothing to do with additional space or putting in more factory footage, because it's a little late now. even if they start turning the dirt immediately, they're not going to get much out of any new facility in 2024. So you can see I come up with 1.125 in terms of Shanghai, and I break it out the way you see. Now we have Austin. Austin is, their capacity is 1 million Model Ys, okay? But they're also going to have the Cybertruck. I guess I could spread this out just a little bit and show you that line includes the Cybertruck, all right? So the Cybertruck will add to the capacity in 2024. I have really, really light numbers here for Cybertruck. So you can see that in Berlin, all they do is Model Y. I've got Berlin, who has a capacity also, they're saying 500,000, but everybody knows it's a million. So I'm saying they're going to do 650,000 in Berlin next year. Now, they might do some Model 3s there, and that might also contribute to this 650. But I'm saying the maximum they do for all vehicles in Berlin next year is 650. Berlin has been a little bit ahead of Austin in terms of Model Y production. So you're seeing that in January, and in the first quarter, I'm showing that Austin goes ahead in total vehicles because of Cybertruck. So you can guess that maybe I'm thinking maybe 15,000 Cybertrucks, maybe 10 to 15,000 Cybertrucks in the first quarter. Then they go even further ahead of Berlin in the second quarter. So maybe that's 20 to 25,000. And then they go even further ahead. So now you're looking maybe 40,000 Cybertrucks. And then in the last quarter, even further. So maybe it's like 70,000 Cybertrucks. Now that's a very much lower ramp than the Model Y has been. That's a very conservative number there. But you can see that if we just do these numbers, you're already at almost 3.2 million cars next year, which would be substantially ahead of the 50% per year. Now let's go take a look at that. I did this little setup over here. So this is 2019. In 2019, there was 900,000 of all makes and models of Tesla on the road. In 2020, they made 500,000, and that took them to 1.4 million. Now, what I've done here is I took that 500,000, which is where Elon started. He said, starting in 2020 at 500,000, I'm going to increase on an average of 50% a year every year. So if you do that, this is not the real numbers. This is what he said that he would do if he did 50% a year. So 750,000 in 2021. Well, no, we did 993. I think the number was something like that. 2022, that would have been 1.125. No, we did about 1.3 million. 2023, that would be 1.68. And you know that the number that we're talking about is 1.8 to 2, and I'm saying 2.1. 2024, that would only be 2.5. I'm saying it's going to be 3.2, et cetera, et cetera. But you can see, even with that 50% a year in 2029, you're already almost up to the 20 million total that Elon is shooting for 2030. You'll also notice that some of these years start to get a little hard. So for instance, starting in 26, you've got to sell 2 million more cars than you did the previous year. Now, those cars are going to be Generation 3 cars largely at that point. And that might be selling, or it might be turning them into fleet for robotaxis. But 2 million cars in 1 year would be a lot. Well, okay, it gets harder because the next year you've got to sell 4 million cars. So, and then the next year after that, you've got to sell 6.5 million more cars. So it gets harder and harder and harder. But also I thought of interest, and again, all these charts are up at Patreon. So you might want to, if you're interested, you can get these charts, or you can take a screenshot right now. What you have here is the number of cars on the road. So you can see that by 2026, and these are the real numbers, by the way. I've added in the real numbers are my real projections here. So that would be by 2026, you have 19 million cars on the road. Now, if you go back and look at my 2026 projection, I said only 6 million of those would be being used for robotaxis. So that would only be 1 and 3 owners. I said it might be 1 and 2. I've redone it here. It actually turns out that would only mean 1/3 of the people would want to make $75,000 a year by putting their car on the road 50 hours a week as a robotaxi. Only 1/3. If it was my car, I would be putting my car out on the road. I put my cars out on the road in the Turo world. Three different cars I have lent out in Turo. So it's not a big deal to me. I don't have the same, my spouse is not on the same page. So she doesn't want to put her Model Y out in terms of a robotaxi. Now we're going to get the Cybertruck. So maybe we keep the Model Y and turn that into a robotaxi. Anyway, the point is it would only take 1/3 of those individuals to make a decision to put their car to work to make them $75,000 or more a year. Don't you think maybe 1/3 of them will do that? To make it 6 million cars out there. And I believe that ended up producing something like $100 billion in profit or something like I don't have it in front of me. I should have looked it up. Anyway, okay. So that was just a fun sidebar here, but look at this. By 2029, there'll be 60 million cars, Tesla cars on the road. Okay. And a lot of those would be robotaxis and making lots and lots and lots of money. All right. So let's go to look at the full numbers. So we took the numbers from below and we added those up, and that 685 number is the number we have below. So you can see auto units, 685, then 770, anyway, totaling up to 3.185, just like we showed a second ago. Then you've got the average selling cost. I'm saying that goes up to 48,000, eventually up to 49, and back up to 50,000, because I have Cybertrucks in here, which will probably mostly be between 60 and 100,000. They're adding to. You have Model Ys, almost all the additional cars that'll be adding to the total base in 2024 will be Model Ys. So that is going to slowly raise the price of the cars. So that's why I've got my average selling price going to what it is. Then we got total revenues. That's just a multiplication problem. Then you got margin. So I'm saying the margin pops back up to 23 and then finally to 24. I don't see it going higher than that necessarily in 2024 because you will have some costs coming out due to the Cybertruck ramp. The Model Y ramp should actually be helping because the Model Y ramp will be going along into the bigger numbers. So that will be improving margins, but the Cybertruck ramp will be decreasing margins. So overall, I think 23% is fair. That gives you auto gross margins. You can see 7.6, then 8.5, then 9.8. Anyway, total of $36.6 billion next year in total automotive gross margins on 155 million in sales. So that is starting to be a significant company at that point. We're over the 100 million hump in 2023. Now we're at 155 million in 2024. Now you've got the energy profits. I've got those at, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. This is assuming that Lathrop is fully ramped as of the fourth quarter of 2023, fully ramped, definitely fully ramped in the first quarter, and then that Shanghai is on board and they're starting to spin out some product. So that gets us to a $7.5 billion profit for the year. Not insignificant. With gross margin, with total 36,000 for cars, all of a sudden you've got 7.5. That's 20% of the total of the car amounts. I'm saying other profit. That comes from services, that comes from anything else. It could come from interest, whatever else. I'm saying that's a 3.6. Then semi-truck. Unfortunately, I had to put a bunch of zeros in there, and I've only got 100 million in profit for the fourth quarter when I think maybe they'll roll out 3,000 semi-trucks and they'll make 100 million in profit. Then the IRA. Now, you've heard me, if you watch the channel, you know that I say that the IRA, a lot of it is going to be showing up in these margins. And in fact, that may turn out that my margins are too low because the IRA money is going in there. But there's some things I don't think they're going to be able to bury in cost of goods sold, even if they don't. I mean, they may be doing it for absolutely 100% legitimate bookkeeping reasons because it's you make the battery in-house, you sell it to yourself, basically. So that's a cost of goods sold situation. So the tax advantage turns out to be in cost of goods sold. And so there's a chance that some or all of this will end up in cost of goods sold, but then that margin would have to go up a lot. If all of it's in cost of goods sold, then we're looking at probably 26, 27, who knows, percent margins. So I'm adding something in for the IRA down here because I think some of it is not included and or will be a separate line item. So that comes out to 5.7 billion down here. We've had other pundits or analysts out there saying that the number next year will be around 6 billion. I think that the way they calculated it was actually extremely low. The 5.7 billion I'm coming up with is only part of the total that is going to come from IRA next year. The total profit, therefore, will be 52.5 billion for the year. The overhead, I'm figuring in at about 10.7. That would give GAAP earnings of 36.9 billion, and that's earnings per share of almost $11 a share. Now, that does not take off anything for taxes. You could take a couple of billion off for taxes and you'd be at 9. So that's 9 billion compared to your Dan Ives, who's at 5 billion. 9 billion in EPS. I'm sorry, $9 a share rather. I did that wrong. I'm very sorry, Mike. Let's do that over again. Okay, so GAAP income comes in at 36.9. That gives you earnings per share of 10.82. Now, I didn't do the taxes. Probably what you'd want to do is look at a little over 20% tax. So you might take off 7. Let's call that 30 billion. And that would reduce you. You'd now be down to closer to, let's say, $9 a share. That's still a lot more than Dan Ives came in at $5 a share. $9 a share, give it a 50 PE. Now you're looking at $450 a share is the value at the end of next year on the last day of the year. Of course, that's not how people do it. They'd be looking forward into 2025 at that point. So this is what it should be now. If you only look at 2024 and you believe my numbers, then we should be at 500 now. Okay, which is why I'm saying we'll be at 400 by the end of the year, because these numbers will become more real as we get into the fourth quarter. All right, so now let's look at a bear case. I'm not going to spend nearly as much time on it. So you've got different, if you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. You can see that my numbers are just slightly less down the line, figuring there'd be less of everything. So I only come up with 2.9 million overall cars. You plug that into the overall up here, and you get a total of 2.9 auto units. I think I used it just slightly less on the average selling price. Maybe it was exactly the same. Anyway, and then margins, I went down a little bit. Notice my margins are quite a bit down there, only 21% most of the year, and then 22%. My gross revenues, therefore, were down. Energy profits, I dropped that just a little bit. Other profits, dropped that a little bit. IRA, dropped that a little bit. Anyway, for a total here of 41.3 billion in total profit. Of course, you're doing less, so your overhead is less, so I dropped that a bit. That gives you a gap of 33.06. If you take 20+% of that, you get almost 7. So that would be $26 of GAAP. 26 billion of GAAP. Divide that by 3.4. You're right about $8 a share. So you're either at 9 here, or if you prefer after tax, $8 a share. 8 times 50. 50 is $400 a share, which is my actual year, 2023 year-end estimate for where we should be on Tesla stock. So where did I get it wrong? Did I get it wrong in the methodology that I use? Pick holes in my methodology. How would you do the methodology differently? You look at the old information that you get from Tesla on their profit and loss statements and their balance sheet and everything else that they give you. You take what the executives are telling you at the earnings report and other places, Elon and others are giving you some numbers, which I don't know where else you get the numbers. I mean, does somebody know more about it than they do in terms of taking a look at their internals and taking a look at their polling and whatever else they might be doing? So you take a look at what they say, and then you spread it out based on normal expectations and also the overall macro. Shoot holes in my method, shoot holes in my actual numbers, tell me where I'm wrong. But please, I love your comments. I've had some great comments the last few days where people take the time, take just an extra minute to give me a paragraph that says, here's why, Randy. Not just know your method stinks. That's not helpful. Say your method stinks, and here's what I would do differently. Or, Randy, I don't think we can get there on the cars. I don't think they're going to sell that many cars next year because, I don't think they'll sell that many Cybertrucks next year because this is what I'm looking at. I don't think energy, you get the point. All right. So if this is something that was helpful at all to you, please hit the like button, and then you know what to do with subscribe. Have you subscribed yet? Now, let me ask you, have you bought the book yet? Have you bought the Elon Musk mission yet? Are you an entrepreneur or a wannabe entrepreneur? Do you own your own business? You should read the Elon Musk method, and you should read When Friday Isn't Payday, and you should read Making Money Out of Thin Air. All three of those are designed for small business owners. I've been writing books for small business owners for 40 years. And they've all been bestsellers. They've all been sold out. I was selling a book to the bicycle industry for $50 a copy. So if you're a small business owner, you want to buy those three books. Start with When Friday Isn't Payday. It's been out since 1993. It is in its third edition. I wrote the third edition just a few years ago. So it's really up to date and current. And I think you'll find, as Inc. magazine did, that when they said it was the best small business book that was out the year that I wrote it. I don't know, maybe it's still pretty good. So if you haven't bought the books, buy the books. Help support the channel. And you can help support the channel too through Patreon. And right now you get 7 days to test it out. Take a look at the charts, copy them, do whatever you want to do. And it's only $5 a month if you decide to stay on board. This is Randy Kirk. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.